3 years ago, we were told artificial intelligence was about to give us superhuman capabilities. We were promised 10 times the daily productivity, an end to tedious work, and an economic boom so vast it would practically guarantee universal high income for everyone. This chart tracks that promised economic explosion against reality. Instead of a steep exponential curve of growth, U.S. GDP grew by 2.8% in 2024, in line with historical averages. Over the next 2 years, forecasts expect that growth to drop below 2%. At the same time, the tech sector is seeing hundreds of thousands of people lose their jobs. The infinite wealth hasn't trickled down to the very people building the ecosystem. But something is trickling down to the rest of us. If you've tried to build a PC, buy a new phone, or renew a basic software license lately, you've probably noticed that prices are climbing far faster than normal inflation. As big tech pours billions into new infrastructure, the costs are starting to surface in unexpected places. From the physical components in your computer to the software in your browser, the price of staying connected is rising, effectively asking the consumer to pick up the tab for the industry's massive pivot. Take Oracle. In just the last 6 months, they burned through over $20 billion on capital expenditures, mostly to build out heavy infrastructure for data centers. As this chart shows, the amount of money Oracle spends on data centers has skyrocketed by 227% over the last year, but their actual revenue has only grown by 13%. That massive gap isn't being covered by profits, it's being covered by a mountain of corporate debt. All that borrowed money flows straight into hardware. To train complex models, you need specialized graphics cards, and those cards are hungry for random access memory, or RAM, the high-speed workspace processors use to think. A single new NVIDIA Blackwell server card requires up to 864 gigabytes of RAM to function. The immediate problem we face is physical capacity. Over 93% of the entire global supply of RAM is manufactured by just 3 companies: Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Tech giants are queuing up to buy millions of these AI graphics cards, and they have nearly infinite cash to spend. Because the margins on data center components are so astronomical right now, manufacturers like Micron are stopping production on some consumer-grade memory lines to dedicate their factories to the AI boom. With factory capacity pivoting towards server hardware, the everyday computer components you need have become scarce. Building a standard desktop today with DDR4 or DDR5 memory will cost you between 26% and 32% more than it did 5 years ago. When the profit margins on server hardware are 5 times higher than home computers, the manufacturing floor follows the money. This pivot prioritizes the data center at the expense of the retail shelf, leaving consumers to navigate a market defined by artificial scarcity and rising costs. The drain doesn't stop at silicon. These massive new server farms pull so much electricity that they threaten to buckle local utility grids. That physical strain on the infrastructure has very real downstream costs. In 2025, residential electricity prices in the United States have already jumped by about 10%, largely due to the extra load these data centers demand. To keep their graphics cards running without triggering blackouts, companies are resorting to desperate measures. Tech facilities in places like Memphis and Louisiana are now installing dozens of gas-burning turbines right next door, pushing up local energy prices and creating emissions for the surrounding neighborhoods. Meanwhile, the software giants footing the bill have a major problem. They have taken on immense debt to build this infrastructure, and Wall Street is demanding to see a return on that investment immediately. Look at this typical software invoice. Companies are baking mandatory AI tools, like Copilot or Gemini, into platforms like Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. They remove the opt-out and hike subscriptions by 20%. Then they recategorize this forced surcharge as explosive AI revenue growth. By eliminating alternatives, tech giants have engineered a closed loop. They inflate your bills to pay down their infrastructure debt, securing a return on a product that many users neither requested nor required. Despite the massive extraction of resources across hardware, energy, and software subscriptions, the actual products we use every day are showing signs of decline. A standard Google search now requires sifting through layers of predictive text snippets just to find a basic website. Meanwhile, platforms like Amazon are so choked with low-effort AI-generated spam that finding a legitimate human review is harder today than it was a decade ago. Even the flagship models themselves struggle with basic utility. When deployed for professional tasks like coding or accounting, these systems regularly make bizarre, illogical assumptions and critical memory errors that a junior human employee would likely avoid. The tech industry has slammed into hard physical limits. There is not enough cheap energy, not enough global silicon, and, at least currently, not enough logical capability within these systems to justify the trillions being spent. This represents a massive transfer of value. While the promised economic revolution remains stalled in the forecasts, the overhead, environmental strain, and hardware scarcity, and mandatory price hikes has already arrived. The public is currently absorbing the costs and the consequences of an industry-wide gamble that has yet to pay.